So if we take a little bit of a step backwards, we can ask why do you want to use mock objects? And there are various reasons. Some of the classic reasons are for isolation, for determinism, for speed, performance, and to avoid dependencies on external systems. So if you have your production system and you're wanting to write unit tests, ideally those unit tests would test small parts of your code in isolation. And the great advantage of this is if you're testing individual units, then you have to write those units so that they are individually testable. So you're writing more less tightly coupled code that's not so tied to its dependencies, more modular code, and more modular, less tightly coupled code tends to be better code. Tests that act on small parts of your system are going to run faster, and performance is something that we're going to particularly look at in a minute. But also, if you're exercising small units of your code, then when those tests fail, the traceback is going to show you exactly where the problem is. If each test is exercising whole screeds of your code, the failures can occur anywhere, and the traceback may not give you much useful information about where the problem actually occurred. So with small unit tests exercising small parts of your code, your failure information becomes a lot more useful. Your tracebacks suddenly become useful. Determinism and avoiding dependencies on external systems are fairly obvious. If you've got tests that access the network, the database, the file system, make calls to external APIs, then they're obviously going to be slower. Particularly if they're accessing external APIs or even databases, you've got state outside of the system that you've got to set up for those tests to be able to run. In your test environment, you may not even be able to access those external APIs, or you may not get deterministic results. A classic example might be accessing a weather service, an external weather service. If your tests start pulling in weather data, they're going to get different results every time the test runs. And one thing you can sometimes find is that in order to check that your code is producing the right results, your tests, they pull in the same data, they do a bit of processing on it to see what the result should be, and then you find that in your tests you've got a similar algorithm to your production code, and the problem with that is that if you've got a bug in your production code, you've very likely got the same bug in your re-implementation of it in your test. It's not a very useful test then. So using mock objects, we can fake out parts of the external API, and we can return deterministic results and have pre-processed known good results to compare against.